Thank you for tuning in to another episode of InRange. This is another dust test.
Yep.
If you've not seen the other ones, tune into them. We also did a convoy one that inspired this whole thing, but we're doing this in a more repeatable way with a really high velocity wind blower.
With a leaf blower. It's pretty fun.
But it's working.
So far, yeah.
I think you have the most fun wearing the leaf blower so far.
Yeah.
That said, we've done some guns that have been contentious. We did the Galil Galani, we did the M9, and now we're doing the M1 Garand.
Speaking of things that aren't going to work.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to at all. You know, when they, on D-Day, of course, if you guys watch your movies or read your books, they put bags around these to protect them from the elements of the sand, the beach landing.
Yep.
Most predominantly sand.
Yeah.
And this is a sand and dust test. And there are accounts of these guns being very reliable in the field, but there are accounts of them in Africa core and sand and dust causing them to have failures.
Right.
There are also a lot of openings, and the action surfaces are absolutely open on the gun. I mean, this is your rail for your op rod. And normally there's grease on there, but there isn't, because I have removed all the grease from this gun with gun scrubber,
which is basically brake cleaner.
It is, but the reason we're doing that is the only way to do these tests consistently and reliably is to make sure the gun has no lubrication on it.
Right.
The gun will run fine without lubrication for a brief amount of time. Now, M1s, everyone says you have to use grease. That's
Yes, they all say that.
no, but it's not true.
There is an Army thing that says you will lubricate this with grease.
Yeah, lubriplate is the actual stuff.
Yes. And there's a very specific reason, and that is when they tested it in a lot of heavy rain as part of the initial proofing out trials of the gun, they found that if you used oil, it would wash off of these exposed surfaces and you'd be left with no lubrication and the gun would stop working. If you used grease, it was more resilient and it could withstand being in heavy rain without washing off. Therefore, there's not any like magic property of grease that's required to properly lubricate the gun. It's simply that oil will wash off because it's all exposed to the elements.
Now that said, with everything we know about guns we've tested with mud and now dust and sand, exposed surfaces like that, especially lubricated ones, are a really bad idea.
Yeah, it's going to be a problem.
Well, this gun is currently clean, has not been destroyed with dust yet. Why don't you load up one clip of 8 rounds and let's see if the gun's working reliably with no lubrication. I would say that was a success.
Yep.
So what we're going to do for the dust test is we're going to do what we did with all the others, is we're going to do this condition 3.
Which means, it occurs to me now, we're going to have to strip a round out of there.
Yep.
Because with the M1 clip, you cannot push it down far enough to close the bolt over 8 rounds, but you can close the bolt over 7 rounds.
But by the way, you can load a partial clip, guys. That's not magic.
Nonsense!
I'm going to hold it down and...
What sorcery is this?
7-round clip.
Next thing you know, you'll tell me that you can actually top it off in there.
You can do that too.
All right, we'll do that later.
Anyways, safety on,
Yep.
and we're gonna go put this in the sand, and we're gonna hit it with the wind blower.
Yeah!
And we're gonna see if we get through 7 rounds. I don't think we'll get through more than 1.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Let's see what happens.
That is awful. I was watching it go in that big hole right in front of the rear sight. It's, oh God, poor thing. That right there, that's now full of sand, that's a problem.
All right, I'm gonna risk my life with this M1 here, I think. Let's see what we got. Oh man, you are not kidding.
Nope.
Look at that. This is an operating surface. It's full. It is full. So let's do that.
So when I was doing the sand, I wanted to make sure that I got some blown in towards the magazine well.
Yeah.
As well as the gas system out here.
Oh, ooh.
Which that may or may not cause problems, but then, I mean...
I don't think it will.
I don't think it'll have a chance to, because that.
God knows what's in here.
Yep, that's gonna, I suspect, mess up the trigger something
Ready?
fierce. Yep.
Oh, look.
Ooh, cool. Rocks in a clip.
I'm gonna go ahead and dump it out because anyone that was paying attention would.
And by the way, the bolt face is full of crap too.
Ready?
I don't know if you can see it from your angle.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, so it may not chamber.
It did.
All right.
Here we go. I got hit with a bunch of rocks on the forward hand. I felt it. Okay, so we fired 1 round.
Not in battery.
Not in battery. I actually felt rocks hit my hand. It's kind of fun. So let's...
Is that live or empty? Empty, all right.
Did that chamber? No, it did not. Oh! Look at magazine issues. There's a rock.
Same thing.
Right
oh,
there.
yeah, we got a big old rock. right in there. So now you're hitting, because it can't come up all the way. I would say,
Ready?
hold the gun, no, hold the gun upside down. Hold the handle back and jiggle the cartridges. Hold that back for a sec. Okay, maybe. Nope.
All right, you know what I have?
Another clip.
I have another clip.
All right,
So let's go ahead and get this one out of here.
if you can. No, don't make me leave.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, there we go.
Wow. So that actually, the clip eject worked with delay. All right,
All right, it's in battery.
clean clip. In battery. Yes, I flinched. I'll hear about it for the rest of my life. I pulled the trigger and it just clicked. So let's run it. All right, guess what?
All right, I suspect what's going on is that we have dirt in the trigger mechanism.
People are going to lose their minds, but this is actually a remediation drill on the M1. And it got around. Ready? I have to pull the trigger really hard.
So we've got crap in the trigger mechanism, I'm sure.
Not in battery.
All right, you know,
Hold on, let's do this. You hear that?
yep.
Oh, didn't chamber around that time. That was me. Ready?
Okay.
I'm getting a delayed fire in battery. Click. All right, we're done.
All right, let's go
Oh,
ahead.
I got it.
Okay.
Let's see if we can get through the clip. I have to pull the trigger like twice with force. All right? Click. Last round. And it didn't eject the clip either.
All right, what I'm curious about, before we set this down, go ahead and pull the trigger mechanism out. I want to see what that looks like.
Okay. You got this thing on backwards, man. Anyways. Oh, it's grinded in there. Give me around here. That is really tight. Is this typically a tight gun? Yeah, it is. Ah,
You know, I always use my universal disassembly tool, which I ironically don't have on me at the moment. Here.
oh, I got it. Okay.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Oh, God.
That is what was causing all of our problems.
Yes.
And see this thing? That's a lot of sand.
And you
A
can see
lot of sand.
in here as well.
Yeah.
I mean, look at. All right.
So, and that is all the legacy of that open slot right there.
It is. Let's go ahead and put this back together. Let's go have some conclusions.
All right, I'm really impressed that you managed to actually get through the whole clip.
Well, I didn't get through the first clip. I had to take it out. We had to fiddle with it to get it to even eject. And then when I put the clean clip in, I was able to get through it. But remember, I had to do one kickstart.
Yeah.
That is a real remediation drill on the M1. Obviously, I am not advising people to do that at home. And if you do have to do that, what you have to do is keep the muzzle pointed at an angle away from you while you're kickstarting the gun.
Yeah.
That is a real thing. Guys did it in the war. Guys did it in World War II. They did it in Korea and on. It's something you sometimes have to do with the M1 because it will seize up in a way. It's essentially the equivalent of mortaring your AR.
Right.
You have to have a little inertia, and you can't do that with this op rod the same way or charging handle, and the foot does it for you.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of power.
Yep. But we did get through the last clip by manually cycling it. And you can't see this on camera. And I know, guys, there was some flinch there. And the reason there was is when I was pulling the trigger, I was defeating many, many pounds of sand that was trying to prevent the hammer or the trigger from actually disengaging and pulling the hammer or dropping the hammer. I would pull, it would crunch, and then I would literally go yank, and I would defeat what was in the way, and then it would fire. Not good for accuracy, but it did fire the gun.
Yeah. So we had really two issues going on here. We had sand in the clip on the first clip.
Yes.
Which is exactly analogous to the magazines that we've seen in previous dust tests.
It is.
And I'm pretty sure we're going to continue to see that perpetually until we manage to get to a gun that is well enough sealed that nothing can get into the action to clog up the magazine.
That's true.
And then the standard remediation for that is get rid of the mag or clip that was in the gun at that point, replace it with a new one. Once we did that, then the problems were primarily, well, there were more trigger than I think we'll see in other places. Because there's like this giant funnel opening that leads directly into the trigger mechanism.
Fire control group was an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then cycling the bolt was too.
Yeah, because once it gets in here, that leaf blower does a great job of swirling it around inside to liberally coat every part of the gun in there.
If this had grease on it,
Oh,
we would have got through one round. And
you know
that's
what?
it.
If there'd been enough grease on the fire control parts, you might not have even gotten one round off.
Maybe. So this really is why they covered these in essentially plastic trash bags when on D-Day and in other situations as well.
Well, and it made sense particularly for a beach landing like that, where it only... It's kind of like a match thing where you start with the gun safe because you're not going to have to shoot while you're on the landing craft.
No.
You're not going to shoot while you're in the water. You're going to start shooting once you're on the beach. So here's your bubble wrap rifle. Open it up once you get on the beach.
The start box is on the beach.
Yeah, exactly.
The other part is hopefully you get to the start box.
And you're not expected to put your gun back in the bag after you defeat the beach defenses.
No. Now, what we're going to hear is a couple things. One, how could you do that to that historic rifle? Well, this is the lowest end rack grade thing that the CMP provides.
Yep.
We acquired this for InRange because we knew the M1 Garand was going to show up in a lot of our testing and work, and we got one that is certainly functional and accurate enough, like 4-minute, to hit a target. But it is a beater gun that is their lowest rack grade model. This is not quote-unquote historic collectible, and there were millions of M1s made. It's also a battle rifle, so it is what it is, and this gun is probably seeing a lot of things in a lot of places way worse than what we did here today.
We're not really damaging it.
No. That's what a lot of people think we are, but we're not. I mean, there might be some scratches and stuff.
We would absolutely be damaging the finish on the stock.
Yes, but not the mechanical parts of the gun.
Yep.
And secondarily, or I think we're going to hear a lot about is, but that was the greatest battle implement ever devised. And in 1936, arguably, that's correct.
I would say by 1942 still was.
I agree. I'd say that even in the 50s, it still was a contender.
Pretty darn good.
Yep. And even today, it's certainly no slouch.
Right.
It's behind the curve and it's obsolescent, but it is still an incredible rifle that served the men that used it very well.
And the thing is, the standards were a little bit different back then. There were more reasonable expectations for, well, of course, if I coat it in mud, it's not going to work. What do you think I am, some sort of sadistic idiot? In a way that today, our standards have gotten a lot more stringent.
Yep. And before other people say this, there are many archived World War II training videos that show the soldier, U.S. soldier, how to hold his rifle like this when going down into dirt and mud to protect the action. And in fact, it shows Private Snuffy not doing that. And he takes a bead on a German and it goes click and he almost dies.
Yeah.
And then they show the next guy doing it like this and his gun works.
Yeah.
So that may not work as well with dust and sand, but they were well aware of the problem and they accepted it as the reality of having the world's best semi-automatic battle rifle in the war.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks for tuning in. If you like this kind of stuff, Patreon is what keeps this channel alive. It is wholly you, the viewer, that supports this channel. We get no monetization from anyone that bought this CMP Garand for us to do this too, as well as the ammunition to fire through it. If you are already doing that, thank you so much. If you can't, please just subscribe to one of our channels. You find them all at InRange.tv, and thanks for watching.